Hermann von Helmholtz was known for several of his theories. The theory of perception, which was studied with Johannes Müller. The theory was upon the physiology of perception, where our nerves are malleable and react and change based on the stimulus we experience. Hermann von Helmholtz had a mathematical theory on the geometry of physical space and topography. Helmholtz from 1842 to 1854. In Berlin, Helmholtz finished his studies on physiology with Müller. His study of conservation of energy was done between 1842 to 1854, where he took a look into the forces that made the body work together as a whole organism. These were called vital forces at the time. Helmholtz's theory of thermodynamics, the least action principle, and free energies were done under the physics lens. And in 1880, Helmholtz became the director of the Institute of Physics. Of course, there were more theories he had made throughout his career between psychology, physics, and mathematics. All of them seemed to have a scientific lens. But I don't want to just talk about the stuff you can easily find on Wikipedia. Let's talk about his drama and his life! Hermann von Helmholtz was born in Potsdam, Prussia, which is now Germany, on August 31st, 1821. He first started his studies on physiology with Johannes Müller. Helmholtz joined the Prussian army as an army surgeon because the Prussian government was like, hey, we're offering bursaries for the study of medicine if you sign up for our military. And Helmholtz, being a college-age student who really wanted to study physics but his father and him didn't have the money, was like, yeah, sure, okay, I'll join the military. Helmholtz did his early studies with Johann Müller. Helmholtz studied under Müller from 1838 to 1842 and made friends with two other of his students, Emil Dubois-Reymond and Ernest Brück. In 1845, he joined the Berlin Physical Society, which was started by Dubois-Reymond. Talk about friends in high places. However, not everyone was friends with Helmholtz. Wilhelm Weber and his friend Carl Friedrich Gauss made waves in the study of electromagnetism, specifically investigating the toroidal which is all atoms have magnetic properties due to the spinning actions of atom electrons. Groups of atoms join together so that their magnetic fields are all rotating in the same direction. Best way to describe it as someone who isn't sciencey is magnets, gravity, and electric pulses do work together to do cool stuff. And in 1833, these two devised an electromagnetic telegraph, which was an early form of the telegraph. It spanned about 3 kilometers, or about 2 miles. While it being one of the first of its kinds, Weber and Gauss weren't getting much funding for their research, and their notability was fizzling out. Now, what did this have to do with Hermann von Helmholtz? Well, you see, Helmholtz was also a physicist interested in electrodynamics. Helmholtz had been accepted being the chair of physics at Berlin. Helmholtz looked at Weber's law regarding electric charges, where Weber claimed these interactions were an instant at a distance rather than being mediated by some sort of field. Please bear with me, I'm not a physics student. But you see, if you make a widely accepted theory like Weber did, where it was accepted across Germany, and this other guy comes in and is like, hey, actually, here's a more generalized action at a distance theory based off of some guy named James Clerk Maxwell, your original theory? Kinda basic. You might get a little heated too. Helmholtz's Memoir of Conservation of Energy, written in 1847, implied that Weber's theory violated the principle. It is likely an understatement to say the relationship between Helmholtz and Weber was strained. Weber had supporters, and both Helmholtz and Weber would spend years working on proving and disproving the other's theory. Their dispute lasted for several years, and cut to 1881. An international congress on electrical units was being held. It was big time. Here, Weber was renowned for his achievements, and Helmholtz, who was the leader of the German delegation. Now, ampere and Weber were both terms used at the time loosely as terms for a unit of current. However, Helmholtz proposed having ampere be the official term. Weber was not enthusiastic about something he's been studying for so long, to be named after the man he had frequent disputes with. But it was said and done! Weber did not have the tact to truly dispute this. though in a bittersweet ending for Weber, who died about 10 years later in 1891. In 1935, the term Weber began being used to describe a practical unit of magnetic flux. And that is where we end the video. Well, unless you're my classmates, hi fellow classmates! If this is the question part, so if you were just a random viewer who stumbled onto this, you can click away. The questions for the assignment are, who did Helmholtz originally do his studies with? And what was the basic concept of his conservation of energy studies? Pause the video here. Okay, you're back. These are my answers and they may vary. Thank you for watching!